Hello, my name is Terry. Welcome to my channel. If you've seen some of my videos before, you'll notice that there's a few recent ones up at Lake Wivenhoe in Queensland and also the Tweed River in northern New South Wales, where I sail my Hobie Tandem island using inflatable stand-up paddleboards as Hakas. Now, I find these very comfortable, large platform, and fully inflated, they only weigh 8 kilos. Now I've also put beach chairs, strapped beach chairs to them, so it's a very comfortable ride. So in this video, what I'm going to do is show you how I secure the inflatable stand-up paddleboards to the above the trampolines, attaching them to the Hakas. Now you'll notice here that I have attached the trampolines to it. I'm only going to do one side, I'm not going to do both sides. There is a reason why I use trampolines. If the sacrificial pin back here ever breaks, which is a safety feature, and that's plastic, if that ever breaks, without the tramp on, this will just fold straight back, and you could flip it over. So I always keep the tramp on, that way I figure that if that ever breaks, then it's not going to go back quite as easily or as quickly with the trampoline attached. It'll possibly still go back, depending on the swell that you're in and the wind. These may very well break, these plastic clips, but it will take a few seconds before they actually break. And that few seconds could mean the difference between flipping over or not flipping over. And also with the inflatable stand-up paddleboard attached, if for some reason something happens and the inflatable paddleboard deflates, you're not going to fall straight through into the water. You're actually going to fall onto the tramp. So you just a sort of a safety feature that I thought would work good. Now what I've done here, I've already pre-inflated the stand-up paddleboard. I'm sure you don't want to see how that's done. It's not terribly difficult. I don't use a manual pump. I have a 12-volt attachment plugged in the cigarette lighter in the car, which makes it a lot easier. Now the recommended PSI on these is 15 PSI, which is 1 bar. Now what I do is I inflate them to the full 15. Now I've also on this marked on the inside with just a little bit of pencil, that pencil mark there. Now I usually have that sitting over the back Haka, and then I just basically straighten it up like so, just twist it, move it in a little bit, and usually about there. So once I position that, then I get the straps. Now here are the tie down straps. They're rated for 250 kilos. The original ones I used I got from a cheap shop, and they were only rated to 125. So I got these from Whitworth's Marine up at Southport in Queensland. So I will use these from now on. So that's 250 kilos for each one at the front, one at the back, so all up be 500 kilos of capacity. So what I do here is the front, I'll run that under the straps, and here I just make sure I get it as flat and level as I possibly can, and then you feed it through where this is on the trampoline, where it's split for going over the knuckle. Then I pull that through. Not rocket science here, it's quite simple but effective. And I run it under the straps here, and then under here, and then through the ratchet. Now it doesn't really matter which way you do this to tie it on. You can have pulling it this way to tighten up. I find this way is easier because you're on the outside rather than being on that side pulling that way. So I just tidy that up there. Turn that so it twists nice. Well, not twists nice, but anyway. So that's alright, just goes there. I come around here and I usually have that up there. Hold that down there, grab that and pull it. Now I pull it relatively tight. Don't need to pull it overly tight, but relatively tight. Now I only bought these today, so what I'll be doing is cutting these off about here because that's all I'll need. These are 4 meters long, so I probably only need 3. But for this purpose, I'll just fold them in underneath here, like so. Hopefully you can see this. That's it. So don't worry about that. And I'll get the other one. And at the rear, it's quite simple because you don't have to feed through anything as such. So step around here, go over here, pull it through. Again, not rocket science, pretty simple. And then feed it through. Now I usually get these as close to each other as practical and then pull down on this and that's it. And now I'll be cutting this one later too. So just tie that through there, through up beneath there. And if a moment we'll just put that down there. Now that's it strapped on. Now if you notice, if I have it here and pull, this is not going anywhere on either side. So it's quite good. And it's light, like I said before, fully inflated, 8 kilos. And this is only a guess here, but I'm suggesting that if it wasn't inflated, probably still be 8 kilos because air doesn't really weigh anything. However, to lay down and weigh it on the bathroom scales at home in my carport, uninflated was a bit difficult, so I inflated it and put it on, and 8 kilos, so it's great. Of course the straps weigh absolutely nothing. Now you'll see there, I've in pencil put a little bit of a mark there. Now I'll show you why. Now, this is a beach chair. It's a cheap one. It's all of $18 from Kmart, and I'm sure if you're living in another country, there's lots of other places, Costco, places like that, that you'd be able to buy something like this. It's good because it keeps you up off there and good back support. And what I have here is a couple of straps on them. Now on this inflatable stand-up paddleboard did not have D-rings. Had the D-rings up there for the straps that it came with, these, but at the back didn't have any, so I got these off Temu, cheap as anything, waterproof super glue, and that's all the repair kits are for these anyway, and some Velcro. Now the reason I've done this is when it's not strapped down tight, so mozzie, what I do is I just strap these on here, and it basically keeps the chair in the rough position where I want it to be. And I'll show you this in a moment when I put the straps on this. It's a bit fiddly, but anyway, hopefully I'm capturing all this on video. If I was smart, which I will be right now, I'm going to actually check that this is all in focus. And I checked, yes, it was in a good position, so everything could be seen. Tying these down. So they don't have to be overly tight, but quite surprising, Velcro is very, very strong. So I've got them at the back too, and I'll explain why as soon as I hook them up. A little bit of fiddling around, but you know, not overly dramatic. So I just pull that back a little bit so there's a bit of pressure on it. Pull these down nice and tight. So there's going to be murder in them if these flies don't go away. It's just a bit humid, so humidity in Australia brings out the flies, sadly. But anyway, I shall persevere. Now, that's that. And just push it, falls down, lift it up, and that's right. Now, what I have positioned here, so when I'm sitting down, my backside is sitting roughly here, which is about where the rear aimer is. Now you could position this anywhere on the inflatable stand-up paddleboard. You could put it here in the middle, which would be fine. You could put it anywhere you wanted. However, I have noticed when I first did it up at Lake Wivenhoe, oh, actually, no, on the Hinge Dam one I only had one of these. I actually went and bought another one to use on both sides. But when I only had the one that I bought about a year ago, and I used that, if I was sitting too far at the front, when you get a bit of speed up, maybe even only 5-6 kilometres an hour, you would notice that the nose, your weight being up the front a little bit more, the water's about here-ish. Now, I didn't particularly like the water like that because I thought, well, you know, it was on the Hinge Dam in Queensland, which is near Advancetown. It's a dam. It's fed by I believe, the Nerang River, which by the time it gets to there is probably a trickle, not much in it. So the only chop is created by wind there. So there's no actual tide, there's no swells or anything like that. So if you're out on, say, where I was the other day, Wednesday, on the Tweed River, where it's a tidal river in northern New South Wales, when the tide goes out and the low points in the river, you can get metre swells in some parts. So you don't want that part up there low down when there is no swell, because it will nosedive. And of course we all know the Hobies, the Adventure Island, the Tandem Island, the seals on here are not 100% waterproof. So you don't want to be getting water flashing over here all the time, otherwise get a lot of water in them. So strap these on, you know, just put this part here, just lay that on the seat for the moment, run this down underneath here, around here, on this side. Now, one thing you have to be conscious of, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it, but when I take the headgear off, I'll try and show you, unless you can put it here. You don't want this wrapping over that screw there or that screw there, so trying to get it up near the aimer. So I go up like that, over there, and then back down, under here again, and around here. And pull that up there, and then we have it fed through here. Now, a little bit of a trick here is make sure you've got all this pulled right through. Bit fiddly, however. Now, you pull that tight there, that's not going to move anywhere. However, what you're going to be conscious of when that folds down, this seat actually lowers. So it's a bit wobbly. So what I do is, I usually have it about, it'll be a trial and error. Pull it down about there. So when you pull this up, it's got a bit of resistance. Not enough for me, so I pull a little bit more. And then, yeah, that's up there. So once that's up, you've got to push hard that way. So when you're standing on it, you can use this. This doesn't go anywhere. So it doesn't matter if you lean over here or lean that way, because it's strapped on there around onto the arcers here, this is not going to go anywhere. Most of the time, I've found, well, when I was at the Tweed River, sometimes it's okay to have it down. Another reason why these straps are here, to stop this moving around so much. But have it up all the time. Even if you're sailing against the wind, wind's going to be coming that way, these aren't really going to have an impact on your speed. So that's basically about it. Very comfortable. Like I say, you can hold on to, you can stand up. If you don't want to hold on to something, keep your balance, you can do that. So by doing that, the chair doesn't move from that. The whole thing and the stand-up paddleboard to the Haka, it's all one unit now, which is great. Now, a couple of other things I've done. Made the riser here, which is great. That way, when the sail's up, of course this is up here, so it doesn't take your head off when you go to tack. Also, I've put this seat on. I might do another video later on regarding that. Now, a couple of things I did here. Now, the extensions for the steering. Now, as we all know, steering's up here and up the front on the Tandem islands. As we know, new owners may not know this, but anybody that's had one for a while, if the lines here ever break, this is the up and down line, if that breaks, that's not a drama to fix, you can usually fix it okay. But if these lines break, the steering lines break, you have the devil's own time trying to go inside the hull, because you've got that there to put your arm in, that there to put your arm in, or up the front to reach that one to put it in. But if it's broken here, to do the whole thing is rather difficult, because the access is difficult. Now, if you're on the water, and say you're out in, I don't know, if you're in America, who knows, in Florida and the bays and places like that. But if you're in Australia, it could be, say, Queensland, you're on Moreton Bay, you don't want to be a couple of kilometres from a beach and the steering breaks. You can still use the paddle for the steering, but not as effective. Whereas those lines of a break, I can use this. And if you notice, if I stand up the front up here, either side, you steer with this, and you'll notice at the back, and it's actually very effective and a lot lighter than using the actual Hobie ones that come with it. Now, all I did here was, this is a bit of what is it, looking for the size, I think it's 20mm PVC, I think. Wouldn't stake my life on it. Now, this is just a bit of galvanised plate, which is pretty simple. Screw through there. Under here, I just got a bit of curtain rod, aluminium curtain rod, which is basically temporary until I actually work out this is going to be okay. And then I'll just get some little bit of stainless steel and put in there, and that'll eventually be stainless steel along there. Screws are stainless steel. You drill through there, locking nut there, washer. These aren't overly tight. There's a bit of movement there. That way they move all right. PVC doesn't get affected by water, salt water. So you can set up the front there, and up here, steer it up here. It's quite good. I can actually stand up on the front deck there, and if you've noticed on some of the sailing videos, especially the last one at Tweed Heads, stand up the front, hold onto the mast here, and steer. You wouldn't do it if it was choppy and it was a strong breeze or anything like that, but when you're talking, you're doing 5 or 6 kilometres an hour and there's almost no chop, just a couple of ripples, it's quite safe. These I made. These are just timber. Eventually I'll do it out of possibly aluminium, but the timber's good because it's not going to that's not going to go into the rotomold plastic. And I've also got some yoga mat underneath there to sort of just protect it. It's not screwed, it is just carabiners just stuck onto there, so it can lift up, but it's in there. I'll have to get another couple of these, I'll take them off. So I've got that there, and that is just outdoor decking boards. And at the front I've got my anchor in there. That goes on there to stop the furling line getting wrapped around there. I saw that on a video, but I think from memory it was Rock and Robin suggested that, which is just a cheap frisbee from, I don't know, cheap shop. Just measure it out, cut that across there, and that stops that line, the furling line, falling under, getting tangled up there. So, and also made this too as a seat. This was the original one I made, and this is just 3x2, and this is just strapped on here, underneath here, and then attaches around there. Now, it's actually good. Before I did this, before I did the paddle boards and all that sort of stuff, even before, way before I did the seat, I only did that the other week. If you're out there fishing and you throw the anchor out and you're fishing, say on the Tweed River or wherever you're fishing, doesn't really matter. I just mainly say the Tweed River because that's where I go. It's a 5-minute drive up the road. At one point there, at the end of the road I live on, 500 metres down, I'd be straight in the Tweed River if I didn't turn the steering wheel in the car. So it's a great little place to sit, because I don't like standing on these, because you notice when you stand there's a bit of a flex, so I'm a bit iffy about standing on them at times. So that's great, nice and sturdy. That's great, nice and sturdy. Now neither one of these I should say, are actually screwed in to the boat. They're just using existing with a bit of bungee cord, and that's it. And it stays put, does not move. So yeah, can't think of anything else. I must admit I do like the using those as Hakas. I have made them before at home out of aluminium and marine ply. They're still heavier than that. They're not as long as that. They're only 400mm wide. Now 300mm is 12 inches for those in countries that still use inches and feet and so forth. Thing I didn't like about them is when you have the 400 and it's sitting about here, it's only about that wide. You still have a fair bit of gap there. I'm not overly comfortable with that. So if you're on there and you're a bit rocky and a speedboat or a jet ski goes past and you're trying to step over, and you've got a bit of a gap there, you can fall down there. With the tramp, no, you wouldn't fall right through. However, the trampoline still, doesn't matter how tight you get it and strap it on, it still flexes and you have give, which would also help you lose balance. So these are great because between here, there, and onto here, there's only this much leeway. So it's only a normal step. It's not even a big stride, it's just a little step, which makes it easy. And going from there onto the back, quite easy, because get up from here, I can stand on that. Underneath that is just the cassette. I just made that a cheap foam, Clark rubber. Bit of yoga mat stuck to the top of that. Stand there when I don't have the drive in, and I can step on that, and it's a nice solid platform. Here's all your fairly solid too, where the drives are. But I can get up out of the chair here, step on that, hold that, step up here. So, any suggestions, any questions anybody might have, please feel free to ask. And remember, there's no such thing as a silly question. And straight in front here is Clary Hall Dam. Now, a couple of kilometres down that way is where the dam wall is, and that's the Clary Hall Dam. This here is at the southern end of the Clary Hall Dam, which is the Crams Family Reserve. And this is such a great place. This is Tuesday, the day after Australia Day. There's one cart there with about 5 people in it having a picnic. I've been down here on nice sunny days in summer and on a weekend, and you'll be out here and you'll be lucky if you saw 8 people, 10 people. And this place is huge, massive. Got all the way over there, it's acres and acres and acres, and it's really well maintained. It's mowed and maintained by the Tweed Council, and they do it on a regular basis. I think this is the longest I've seen the grass here. And this is the dam, which is it's great, and it's away from everything. You don't even hear road noise, and this is what it's like. It's just so peaceful. And what I'll do is I'll stand here and I'll stop talking for a minute, and you can hear how quiet it is. All you hear is birds. And when you're out there, and I've been out there with the Tandem Island, didn't have the sail up, I just used the Mirage Drive and just paddled around for hours, and all you hear is birds. Now, I believe from memory, I think it's up there where that bit of grass mountain, that hill goes up. I think up there's a house. Now, it's not on the farm, I don't think. Can't be, because the people who look after the place, they've got their house up there. Yeah, up near the entrance. There's a house up there. And if you like peace and quiet, imagine sitting out there on the deck looking over all that on a hot summer night. Just sitting back with your feet up, and just all you'd hear is the wind going through the trees and the birds. Nothing else. And it's only about maybe a 12-15 minute drive into Ukai, which is a little village. There's a few shops there. There's a pub. There's the Mount Warning hotel. Quite a nice looking pub. I've never been in there, and there's a few shops. There's probably about a dozen shops in Yukon in the main street. Yeah, it's great. And the next town is Moorlambar, which is, I mean, it's 25-30 minutes away from here. Maybe 10 minutes more, maybe 40 minutes. But it's just a magnificent part of the world. If you like peace and quiet, this is where you'd live. Anyway, I can't think of anything else to say or tell you. And thank you for watching. And please subscribe, watch the other videos, and if you like them, hit a like. Yeah. The other video on the Tweed River, sitting on the inflatable stand-up paddle boards using as Hakas. There's a spot there where we get a decent old gust, probably up to about 30 kilometres an hour, and it moves along quite good, 12-14 kilometres an hour, and it's still stable, sitting on the in the chair. So it was actually great. I found it very comfortable ride. And with two of them, you could have one on one side, one on the other side, and you just cruise. Especially if there's not a great deal of breeze, you can just. It's comfortable. It's pleasant. Anyway, thank you for watching, and any questions, please ask. Thank you.